We started the business in 2011 with a pledge to give back 7% of our profits to charity. So for me, social impact is what can you do to make a difference to your society? If you have a purpose that helps you get through those tough times, you're more than likely to get through those tough times in the first place. But once you set a big target, you've got that drive, you've got that team around you, you just want to make it happen.
What drives you?
That event I did before starting Search 7, that was so powerful. I just love the feeling of getting people together and raising money for charity, and I just love it.
Welcome to Mindset, Mood and Movement, a systemic approach to human behavior, performance and well-being. Hello and welcome. If you're running a business, it can be all about profit, scaling, building, firefighting, stress. If you're a founder, you know what it's like. But what's it like when you're building a business and working on social impact? So you're building a business and building a community. It's massive. Now, I am absolutely privileged to have someone I know reasonably well, Gav Willis, and Gav's going to share his story. Now, Gav is the founder and CEO of Search 7. He's going to explain more about his organization in a minute, but what's fascinating, not only is he a CEO of a dynamic business, he has a huge amount of work and social impact, and it's an incredible story. I want to get into the insights and the ideas that Gav has, because it's really, I know some of it, but I don't know all. So, my dear listener, today it's about understanding that, business and social impact. How can they work together? How can that enrich not only your business and community, but maybe you as a founder? So without further ado, Gav, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, Sal. Thank you.
So Mindset, Mood and Movement is what our podcast is about. We look at how we think, how we feel and how we act. You act in some really great ways. Of course, you and I have connected over many different ways. And I know a little bit of your story, Search 7, your organization, but I want to go straight to the point of what social impact is, because we're going to talk business and we're going to talk about you as a founder and the challenges and the highs and lows. But social impact, what is social impact in your description?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, it's about having an impact on your community. There are businesses that focus on sustainability, impacting the environment, and these are things that we do day in, day out. We are a remote-only business, so there's a lot of things that we do really well in terms of who we work with and our suppliers, being as ethical as we can. But since day one, we started the business in 2011 with a pledge to give back 7% of our profits to charity. So for me, social impact is what can you do to make a difference to your society? And over the last, I'd say 13 years, we've managed to put on lots of charity events to get people together, to bring together communities, to give charities a platform to have a voice. And just make a really big impact on those charities that really need our help.
And I was so intrigued with your story, and when I first told you, I was really felt warm in the heart, and I genuinely mean absolutely warm in my heart. I was like, wow, because I've been doing some form of business or solopreneurship for 20 years, and in the world of capitalism and business, it's about making money, right? You make money, you grow a business, you might scale, you might do all these sorts of things. It's more recent times that we're starting to think ecologically and systemically, aren't we, about, well, what do I do? How do I support my values and those sorts of things? And the social impact thing is really tangible for you, because you've said, oh, I would do this charity and there's that charity and they're local. And I was really struck by that. But take us back a little bit to how the origin of this decision's come about, because it takes, I guess, a really conscious decision to choose social impact plus growth of your business together, as opposed to sort of segueing and putting in at some point. Take us back to where it started.
That's really interesting, Sal, because most companies might grow, they might get big, they might start making money, and then they think, let's now help community or spend some money over here. So for us, it was kind of built into our DNA, really, literally from day one. So for me, I worked at a fantastic agency before setting up Search 7. They were brilliant, doing search marketing the same as us. And I got involved in one charity event when I was there, and it just made such a difference to me in terms of how I felt, in terms of my positivity, and I really wanted to, I felt part of a community making a difference. And it kind of went really quickly, kind of came along and went really quick. And it was a half marathon in Brighton, and we raised some money for my boss's brother who sadly took his own life. It must have been about 14 years ago now. And it kind of left a bit of a hole in my heart, really. I was like, what? If I set my own thing, I'm going to make sure that's going to be part of it. It's going to be built around that. And that's kind of how it started. So that's kind of where that passion kind of came from. And it gave me that just idea to say, well, if I start a business, it's going to be pretty much built around having a strong purpose and social impact. How can I get involved and support charities, both in their events, such as the Sussex Beacon Half Marathon, but also a few years later, organising our own events and that just became a whole new world, really.
Amazing. Really, really interesting to see. And I'm fascinated because like you said, you've woven it into your very fabric, the business fabric from the day one. And my guess is it's easier to do that than to sort of bolt it on. But it doesn't mean we can't change. But of course, you've made it part of your DNA, which is really interesting. Now, you spoke to me about 3 Ps. Perhaps we could expand on those 3 Ps because clearly they are pillars. They sound like pillars to me, structural pillars of your business and your thinking. How do these 3, so if you take us what these 3 Ps, you just mentioned purpose, profit, and people. Maybe you can explain that a little bit more, because if that's your DNA, and if someone else is listening thinking, yeah, I want to do something, I want to understand this, but I'm not really sure how. Explain how these pillars actually help your business, not only your business, but how they help the social impact.
Of course, yeah. So for us, the 3 Ps, as you mentioned, is kind of like in business, people say, how are you doing? And you say, yeah, we're doing okay, or we're not making money, or we've had a really good month. It's always around profit. It's always around kind of finances. And it shouldn't be that way. So like, that becomes number one. And okay, you need profit to kind of have a business. You need it to keep running. But you need to keep your team happy. You need to make sure that they're operating really well. They're being supported. And also, if you have a purpose that helps you get through those tough times, you're more than likely to get through those tough times in the first place. And for me, that's happened multiple times over the last 13 years, where by having that purpose, when things don't go according to plan financially, you're doing something really good and you're thinking about something really positive. So as a business, it's kind of getting the team around something else that's something there to kind of hold on to and trying to keep you happy and motivated. But also personally, it just keeps you personally motivated as well. So you know what, we might be going for a bit of a rough patch at the minute, but we're doing some great stuff. The team's happy with it. The team are really engaged on the stuff we're doing for charity. We've got a great event coming up. I'm sure that if we focus on these things, the other P will come good as well. So for me, we have the 3 Ps. We have the profit, the people, and the purpose. And it's kind of like a triple bottom line in a way, rather than just focusing on the bottom line in your P&L. And that's what matters. That's not all that matters. There's kind of things you can do to boost that. And for me, it's been having that strong purpose, making sure that people are really engaged and really motivated. And okay, you might score 2 out of 3, but it's not always going to be profit. It's like at the minute, for example, we're going for a bit of a rough spell at the minute, and financially, but then the team's motivated and engaged. We've got some really good events coming up. We're creating some really good charity events. We've got some great ideas. And I'm like, well, it's 2 out of 3. It's not that one's not doing so well. It's 2 out of 3, and that one's going to build up soon, if we get things right in those other areas. So that for me is kind of how we've built up those pillars. And it's not been there since day one, the 3 Ps. It's kind of come in the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. But it's just a good way to just think about business and how you're running it, rather than just thinking about it's all about profit. It's not. It's balancing that purpose with profit and making sure that you're focusing on other parts of your business as being really key elements.
Yeah, brilliant. Such an interesting description. And I think in metaphor, and I've got lots of metaphors, but one thing I want to say to that, I was speaking to someone on a podcast as a guest myself recently, Ben, on peripheral thinking, and I was explaining there's a concept in sport in particular, but in life and in business, which is you can either play to win or you can play not to lose. Now, playing to win often happens for the underdog, whether it's a team that's starting to get better in their division, or a sports person who's getting better in their game, or a business person who, like young entrepreneurs, they're trying their luck, like, whoa, we found a way to do some good stuff here. That playing to win's got energy, it's got momentum, it's got an attractive quality to it. It's a galvanizing force. Consequently, playing not to lose is you're on the back foot, to use a boxing term. You're always playing safe. You're trying not to lose money or not to lose customers. And I see this as a really dangerous strategy in a world that's just incredibly fluid, particularly in business, where if you start going on that back foot of getting fear, a lot of fear, and that becomes in your DNA of a company, and all your team are like a bit worried about the money, suddenly that frequency is quite a negative frequency. It becomes quite desperate. And it's so easy not to see this. And yet we could be looking at the P&L going, oh, this quarter doesn't look too good. That's scary. I love what you said there about acknowledging that. And yet going, well, yeah, but look at this event we got coming up and the team are going to come to that. What I hear you are implicitly doing is you're building a play to win mentality without even knowing it, or perhaps you do, to create a psychological frame, but you're also building momentum, and momentum's a really powerful thing. Momentum is galvanizing. So well done. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Thanks, Sal. I kind of think back to 2020 in March, and that's a really good metaphor, actually. It just made me think of this straight away, because our kind of purpose got tested. It's like, well, is this something that you really put first? And in 2020, pandemic was announced. That was 3 days after we launched this really big charity campaign to try and raise loads of money over 2 years. We were trying to raise about 30 grand over 2 years for about 10 different charities. And then the pandemic was announced. All of our events got cancelled. We had 7 events lined up over 2 years. All of our charities events got cancelled, obviously, like no one was allowed out. And our purpose was really put to the test. And we either go on the back foot and protect everything and try and look after the margins. But we've got commitment here. We've just pledged to do this. We're going to do it. So we pivoted within a few weeks, did an online quiz on Zoom. We had 120 people. We raised, I think, £1,200. And we started doing some online events that year. We got out and played a bit of golf. We did a golf day towards the end of the year. And we raised, and we hit the target over the 2 years. We hit the target and we said, you know what? We're going to play to win. We want to raise this money for these charities. This is our DNA. This is what we're about. We can say that's too much effort. Let's focus on new business. Let's focus on bringing people up and trying to get some work in, and all about the money. But this is a big part of our business. You know, this is what we're about. So it's what we stand for. And that really got put to the test. And I was so proud of the fact that we just went, we're not going to stop doing that. That's who we are. And I generally believe that by the end of that year, we were picking up some really nice work, because people probably saw us keep doing good things through the pandemic on LinkedIn and getting involved in our events. And they probably thought, you know what, that's great. And you mentioned earlier about, in the last few years, people are thinking a lot more about the environment, a lot more about society in terms of what they stand for and how they can implement that into their own business. And it's true. And a lot of that did come from the pandemic, when people were kind of questioning their purpose. They had a bit more time to think about, what's the, not the meaning of life, but what means more to them. And people were giving more to charity. People were getting involved in events, and all of a sudden businesses are now doing a lot more in those areas, which is fantastic. But yeah, I look back to that time when you say about play to win or kind of being on the back foot, and yeah, it was great. And we did so much then, and the events that we've done since then have kind of built every year. Did a really big one last year. We did our first ever Search 7 charity ball, which was amazing. 225 people at the Grand in Brighton. And we raised 11 grand that night. So it's building that community, and it's being on the front foot, not on the back foot, and just keep going. And just once you set a target, you know what it's like. You set a target, it might be ambitious, but you've set a target and you just want to hit it. And you can kind of say, oh no, we're a bit too busy, there's other things going on, we've got to focus on the money. But once you set a big target, you've got that drive, you've got that team around you. You just want to make it happen.
Cool. If it's all right, as you know, I'm all into psychology, how humans function, how founders function as well, where I play and work. May I go a little into the mindset of that? Because of course, the pandemic was a world-changing event. No one of our age had ever been through this. I don't think most people had. Like, it was just so phenomenally different and obviously terrifying for a lot of people. And businesses were falling apart. Take us through how you made that decision, because you're right. There's no fault of anyone. If you play not to lose, that might have been appropriate. Maybe if you didn't lose your business, you can keep your family. And there's reasons why we might do that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it has consequence, and we might want to choose that consequence. Can you take us into your thinking and feeling? Like, how did you come to that decision to say, no, we're going to press on?
You know what? I didn't even think about the other option. I just thought we this is what we're going to do. It wasn't even an option. It was just this is what we're going to do. So when we can pull the plug on these events and do it next year, or we can wait. But I was like, no, we just launched this campaign, and we're just gonna carry on and make it happen. So it wasn't thought about for a long time. It was just, right, this has happened. This is not good, but we've got to do this, and we are gonna crack on with it. So it was literally instantly just in my head, this is bad, but you know what, people need our help, and we're still gonna do all the things we do to try and bring people together and raise some money.
Beautiful. What drives you?
You know what, that event I did before starting Search 7, that was so powerful. I just love the feeling of getting people together and raising money for charity, and I just love it. I love getting the team together. I love all the stuff we do when we chat about different events and different things we can do. We have a CSR committee at Set 7 and we meet monthly. And off the back of that 1 hour chat, I'm just buzzing for like the rest of the week. It's just so energetic. And without those kind of things, you know, you're just thinking again about the money and the figures and what can I do to drive some more business? But then you need to have positive things to focus on to get your mindset in the right place to tackle those other challenges. And that for me drives me. So without things like our charity purpose during the pandemic, you know, it probably would have been a different story. Set 7 may not be here. We lost 60% of our revenues. We had a lot of travel and hospitality clients at the time, and we lost half of our staff as well by the end of that year. So really challenging period. And me personally, like dealing with that was tough. But also I had my first child in May that year, in 2020. So I had a proper lockdown baby 2 months after the pandemic was announced. So yeah, it was a tough period, but I've always said, like, having that purpose and that drive, you've got family to look after, but just doing good, you know, what goes around comes around. And if you're doing the right things and looking after people, then hopefully people look after you. So yeah, that's my drive.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that expression. I often talk about the frequency we put out, you know, a bit like a radio station. What do you broadcast? Is it rock music, classic music, dance music? And we broadcast, and we putting out positivity? Are we putting out connection? Are we putting out education? Are we putting out neediness? Are we putting out fear? And wherever we're at, certainly as founders, we are really, really instrumental. It's very common that if you look at a business and look at a founder or the founding kind of partners, if it's a couple, the business is largely an expression of their psyche. But there's stuff in there, like there's stuff that they excel at, there's stuff that they're fearful of. It's really curious. It's like what we call in science as fractals. So if you ever look at lungs or trees or neurons in the brain, there's sort of small patterns that repeat. And I see things in thought and behavior fractals. So the founder, if you are galvanized, if you are leading the team, say, come on, look, this is tough, but these people need us, we've committed. That fractal goes out and ripples out through the team, as does like, you got to work harder. We need to make money. There's that fractal as well. So it's really, really curious. I hear a lot of self-awareness in how you're just talking. Obviously, I have the privilege of knowing it to some degree. And that self-awareness is fundamental, because if you're looking at the bottom line and looking at that and it's not looking good and you define yourself by that, you're in trouble. And it's very common. I've done it, right? Hands up, I've done it. And if we're a founder or business owner of some kind, and we are, let's say, by proxy, getting our self-worth and value from how successful we are, that's a risky strategy, because if that goes because of sales go down, a pandemic, whatever it is, by proxy, then we're not in good shape. Our self-worth has been diminished. And I love what you said there about getting those 3 Ps. When it's a bit tough financially because of factors, you still have got those other pieces in place, those people and the purpose. Fascinating. Really, really powerful. Perhaps you could share a little bit more around leadership, how you lead, because clearly you've got a lot of energy and you put it into your charity work, and you're clearly a business and a team. How do you manage this energy balance between leading team and also the business and also the charity?
Good question. So for me, I'm going to put my hands up. I lead by example when it comes to the charity work. And as you said, my passion is just there when it comes to all the charity stuff we do, and getting out in the community, networking, all that stuff I'm great at. Leading a team internally sometimes is something that's not my strength, I must admit, but I've built a leadership team around me. Over the last few years, I've brought in people that are good at people internally, good people managers, people that are great at marketing, people that are good at brilliant operations. So I've built a team around me so that I've kind of plugged in all those gaps to where I'm not so strong, and I can focus on my strengths. That's what you want to do. You bring in people that are better than you, and that's what business growth is all about. So that's kind of where I've focused my time over the last few years. But it's quite funny actually, Sal, because a few weeks ago we did like an online personality test within the team, and you've got like red, blue, yellows, things like that. And half the team said I was a yellow, which is more like socially getting out and about, being quite enthusiastic and stuff, like networking and things, in doing stuff for charity, that kind of element. The other half was red, which is more like drive. I still want quite ambitious. I want things that I want us to hit our targets and stuff like that. And it was so interesting that I was a 50-50 split between what the team kind of perceived, and people in the team are more kind of, I'd say, empathetic, and they're like more blues, or they need more time to process information. And I'm like, I'm kind of all go. I am. But I've got a team around me where all of us work so well together, and we kind of all have our own strengths or weaknesses, where we work, we kind of discuss things, and we kind of write what's the next steps to take. So that's kind of how I've focused on my leadership style. Is like, I need to focus on my leadership team and let them take care of the rest of the business day to day. That's worked well for me over the last few years, because during the pandemic, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've spent 8 years building this company up, and now I've lost half the business. And I thought, right, for us to go to that next level, and we went from 8 people down to 4, and now we're up to 14. We've had a good growth in the last few years. I couldn't have done that without getting more people around me to help me become a better leader in my area, but also just trust and empower them in their areas to lead as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been focusing on.
Amazing. Yeah, there's 7 levels of leadership. I often bounce this around in some of my coaching practices. Like, you get people to like, well, where are you? Are you autocratic? Are you democratic? Are you coaching leadership, affiliative? There's the various described states. What I hear from what you said there, which is really interesting, from a psychological emotional pattern, what I'm hearing is a person that sees the fact that they need more pieces than they can offer. And a lot of founders, I'm a solo worker, and I love what I do, but yes, the challenge comes if you're doing multiple roles. I'm fortunate that mostly do coaching and podcasting at the moment. That's most of my role, but if you've got a bigger business and that's how you want to roll, then you need the right pieces in place. And it's tough to be all, and probably unattainable for most, but also I hear a willingness to let go. And that's what I find really intriguing, because if we let go, then you don't have to try and do it all yourself, which is tantamount either to over-control, autocratic, or to burnout, which is a terrible business strategy. And it's so interesting because you went down to 4 and have gone up to 14. So the evidence is there, right? So this process of allowing others to come in. And curiously, what I'm hearing is that you've got community in your business. You created a community in your business, and you're working on it outside.
Exactly. And the community in the business, the community outside, we call them like the S7 supporters, people that come along, get involved in all of our events. They donate raffle prizes. That's building every year. More and more people want to get involved in what we're doing. They kind of follow our journey, and it's great. When you know you're part of something that's bigger than you, and there's more people that they're supporting you. You're not on your own. And being like an owner of a business, there's sometimes no one to go to. But when you've got loads of people around you, like peer support, and you've got different agency founders next to you, and you've got your clients that you're getting to know really well, and you've got all your supporters coming to your events. You're like, oh, we've built something pretty special here. And I'm really, really proud of that. And yeah, in terms of the leadership internally, I think, I just knew that I wanted to grow things. I was like, I'm not done, we've gone down to 4, but this is unfortunate. I want to grow. And the headcount is great, but it's like the revenue is kind of those vanity figures in a way. It's like, it's all well and good having a strong revenue or strong headcount, but are you performing in terms of your profit margins? What are you doing in terms of your purpose? All those other things? So they're kind of byproducts to what other things that you're focusing on in a way. Because it has been tough. We've kind of over-invested in the team sometimes, and the profit margins haven't been good. But then we've got more people doing some foundational elements to get you to that next level. So it's that journey, isn't it? Sometimes you're doing stuff and you're not making any money, but the stuff you're doing is going to really help you in 6 months' time. And and then sometimes the business might be working really well financially, but things don't feel that organized internally, and then it flips around. So it's kind of it's a roller coaster ride. I always say that it really is ups and downs, and when you're on a high with one of those P's and the other one might not be doing so well, but you're just constantly trying to do your best to make sure that you stand for something good. The team are happy, the clients are happy, and then if you do those things, everything else will hopefully look after itself.
Yeah, so interesting, isn't it? So interesting. I often think of the idea of farming. I grew some stuff when I was a kid. I used to grow stuff in the garden, I remember. But if anyone's ever grown anything, it's a little like you plant some seeds in your garden or your little patio area or whatever you got. You plant your seeds, and there you are. You're like, right, come on, grow. Come on, I said to grow. It's like they're seeds, right? you need to create the environment, and the environment of the seed is the right soil it's in. So it needs the right nutrients. It needs the right space between other seeds. It needs space to grow. It needs the right amount of light, which is attention in human form, and it needs the right amount of water. So if you give the conditions or create the conditions that are optimal, you're going to get the best crops, the best growth out of your seeds. If you shout at your seeds, nothing's going to happen. If you forget to water them, give them light, they're just going to diminish. And often life and business can be like actually farming or gardening in some ways. And if you do the environment design and the nurturing, the seeds take care of themselves. Whereas a lot of the time we get autocratic about it, like shouting at the seeds, like you need to grow faster. Hey, come on, what's going on? Like the seed's like, I'm a seed. Yeah, I need the right light. And I really applaud any leader like yourself who actually sees that and grows a team and grows people, or allows them to grow, perhaps is a better term, so they can flourish. So you don't have to go and do everything, and you can go and focus on these other good things.
No, exactly. And then just giving people time to nurture them, like you say, build that environment, nurturing environment, give them time to grow. But it's also, you are running a business and you have your guidelines of where you want people to be, and you want to give them time to get there, and there's certain metrics you want to try and hit. So it is that balance between everything. It's like you want to give stuff time, but you also want to make sure that you're not running at a loss. So therefore the profit comes into it at the same time. How far are you prepared to wait for, say, 6 or 12 months for some people that are new? But for us, it used to be, in a month or two, how are you getting on? And now we kind of, a new person that joins as an exec, we might say, we're not going to give you any work for 4 or 5 months. We're going to give you time to grow, to learn, develop, and then we're going to give you some clients. And then we're going to give you 6 months to kind of grow those clients, take on more work. And by the end of the year, you might be at a position where you're now fully utilized and you're ready to go. So some people with their experience get more time than others, but you have to be aware of that and nurture that. So yeah, I love that analogy, because I follow someone online called Eric Partaker, and he's fantastic. I think he's like a CEO leadership coach. And I've seen all the kind of pictures of the farming analogies and how it works, and I totally agree. And there's something else he talks about is servant leadership. So giving your team those opportunities to come to you with ideas to grow the company, rather than, again, you kind of like shouting down and saying, we're doing this. Flip it on its head and say, right, what does everyone want to do? Where do you see the business going in the next 6 or 12 months? How can you play a part in that and make them feel empowered and part of that growth? Because otherwise they're just another number in a cog going around, part of the machine and being told what to do. People want to be part of a business where they're really part of it. They want to have an involvement, they want to have a say. And that's what we try and do. We try and have meetings all the time, and quarterly meetings where we kind of all sit down together about challenges. Everyone chips in their ideas. We go away and go, right, let's do this. It's about listening to everyone and giving them that chance to kind of really have a say. So yeah, trying to do as much of that stuff as possible. And I'm reading a lot more about leadership and how to be a CEO, how to empower the team. I think for me that's an area that I really want to keep growing and developing. It's still an area that I want to get better at. Alongside that, doing my usual networking and community building and charity work. So they're the things that I tend to focus on. Lovely, really lovely. Well, a business is a collection of people, right? That's generally what a business is. Unless you're an AI business, then it's a collection of AI just talking to AI. And AI is fine as a tool, but let's not get into AI right now. But people are business, and business is people. And it's a group of people coming together. A company, right? We call it a company, and having companies. It's just a terminology. And when we understand that actually people are unique, we're human, we're biological, we're emotional and psychological, and we have statuses and all these desires. When we understand that people need certain characteristics, and we're not, unfortunately, some businesses now still operate like a Victorian business model. Loads of businesses do. They've got the very autocratic leadership, it's the waterfall model, where from the top down, and it's really built on power. One power, as opposed to emergent and evolving leadership. I don't know where it's going to go. Most economists don't know. People have got predictions. I'm reading an amazing piece of work by William McGaskill at the moment, who's got a 1 million year view. 1 million year view. He's looking at like all the people that have never lived yet, and like we're at this pivotal point in culture about where the Earth's going, where humanity's going. It's fascinating. And he talks so much about this whole kind of like where we go in, how to look at it differently and consider things, because we don't know what a future looks like. But what we do know is how humans function best. Right? There's some facts. And we know that we function best when we're nurtured, when we're connected,
when we're respected, and when we are allowed to be who we are. And what I'm hearing with you is that's an instinctive leadership skill anyway. You instinctively know that. So you're well down the leadership path on that. But but you're always able to grow, right? Everyone's able to grow. No matter how good you get at something, there's always some new way of expanding and learning. So that's a wonderful thing. But we are a collection of people. And if we get people working well, then, division of labor, isn't it? On the back of a £20 note. If you ever see those things anymore, there's things called £20 notes. Division of labor is you get people to do the right things. But I think that's quite a mechanistic manufacturing model. Whereas if we think about how do we help individuals flourish in a team, that's more of a biological principle. Like, how do we get things to flourish really well? So yeah, that's what I see.
No, definitely. I think that's what it is really. It's, you can't do everything on your own. It's not just about what you think. You need different opinions, different viewpoints, and obviously that mindset is key. Like having that growth kind of mindset. I've always been that way. I've always wanted to grow the business and keep going and make sure I'm taking the team with me a lot on that journey and making sure that they're really enjoying the journey and that they play a big part of that. And that's what I love, about something like the community we've built internally as the team. Everyone feels part of that. Everyone feels connected, respected. Everyone's got the autonomy, freedom, trust. We are a remote first agency. Everyone works from home. We meet up now and again. We don't do time tracking, stuff like that. People just get told, look, these are your clients, crack on, make sure they're happy, but they're only happy if they're happy. So you need to get that side of it right. We've got, we're only a team of 14. We've got a people manager who's also, half of her role is managing search accounts as well. We've got a people operations director who's part-time, and we've got myself, and we've got marketing and commercials director as well that manages most of the new business. So we've put a lot of investment on making sure this structure and this operation works really smoothly. The team have a lot of time from people around them to help nurture them, to help make sure they're okay and on the right journey, if they need any support. It used to be just me calling a lot of shots in the early years. And then I was going off for a day or two doing networking, and people were, where's my support network? So we've now learned from that and built around that. But yeah, you can't do things on your own. And when you grow, you're spinning all these plates, and something's going to drop, and it can easily drop. You can't do it all. So building a team around me in particular has been brilliant. And for me, it's not all about hitting these massive profit margins. I'd rather make a smaller profit margin, but do it as a team, or kind of go on this journey together, doing some great things, because I get more out of that. Obviously, I want to make money. I'm a business owner. You don't really making a loss, but I'm prepared to put more time and effort into the team if it means we get there in a year's time or something, because there's more stuff we can do together to lay down those strong foundations.
Thanks, Gab. That's really fascinating to hear how you're running your team, everything that you're doing. Wonderful, really wonderful. Now, you're a really positive individual, and I really love that about you. And clearly in our conversation already, you've demonstrated that, and it's a wonderful thing. But things aren't always great, are they? Things are tough, and you've alluded to that. Perhaps we can speak about when it isn't great, because I don't like an Instagram vibe where we only show the good stuff, right? Life's tough, business is tough, and I know you've had challenges, you've alluded to that to some degree. Perhaps you could explain a little bit more, maybe give us an example. When things have been hard, what happens to you when it gets hard?
Where do I start? When things get tough for me, what, business wise or just in general?
Probably stay with business, and let's just see where that opens up the thinking.
Yeah. So for me, when things get tough, there could be some people issues at work are really difficult. When there's some problems you need to try and navigate around and try and get the best out of people, or even when people aren't feeling great and you have to be there for them. You've got to put everything else down and just be there for them. There's challenges like that, and even like having to let go of people as well in the team when things aren't working out so well. These have a big impact, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. When you're the owner, you care so much about your business, you care so much about your team, and having to make decisions like that. People want to grow a business and keep it growing. They don't want to see it start going the other way, or they don't want to see things not working out and having to make decisions to kind of bring it back in again and then go again. So that really eats up for me. I've had quite a few health issues over the last, I'd say, 5 years, mostly gut related, but a lot of it comes from stress. and diet. I must admit, I'm now focusing a lot more on being gluten free. Not always, but I try and gluten free breads, gluten free beer, and as much as I can. Also dairy free. On my milk and my butter and things like that. I just try and be a bit more sensible with the foods that I'm eating, because it all has a big connectivity in the body and the mind. Wednesday mornings, I put aside time for myself now to go to the gym, which I never used to do. And as a leadership team, we do that all together now. We try and lead by example by saying, look, it's okay to think of yourself, to take some time. We do flex your time for a reason, and that's because we can do these things and look after ourselves. Other kind of challenges for me, I mean, when times get tough financially, it's all well and good saying, oh, let's just focus on doing more charity work and let's kind of focus on the positives, but you still have to address some of those things more short term as well. And that's tough. And when revenue isn't picking up, and maybe you're seeing revenue being lower than money going out, that is really, it's stressful. And on you as an owner, it's on you. So for me, in the past, I've kind of been thinking about things for a week or two, and then I kind of might go, right, this is what I'm thinking. But now I'm kind of more open. I chat to people about how I'm feeling. I've got a leadership team around me. I can kind of share my concerns. We can chat about things together before reaching those decisions. And also the kind of self-care side, putting yourself first a bit more. It might seem like, oh, I've got no time to do that. I can't go for a run today because I've got work to do. That is true. But then for me, I found that if you then go for like a half-hour run, you're going to be more productive for the rest of that day and the next day, which then catches up from that time you would have lost, kind of thing, or that time you would have lost by putting in that kind of exercise. So yeah, being more resilient. I'm trying to learn how to be more resilient and make decisions. But I think for me, it's that kind of the business head and that kind of that the other side to like be emotional and have connections to people. It's like being a business person that just makes business decisions and be detached from being human. It's impossible. I mean, some people are good at it. I know a lot of people that are quite good at it. They're quite clinical and they're ruthless, but then they might have like high turnover in the team because they're not as connected to the team, kind of thing. So it comes with pros and cons. But yeah, for me, they're the main kind of challenges, the financial ones, and obviously the people side, how to manage that. But I know that self-care is a big part of that, making sure that when you approach these challenges, not just you personally and your mindset is right, you're in the right mood because you've done a bit of exercise and things, but also reaching out to people and sharing those challenges. I think, was it a problem shared is a problem halved, that kind of saying? And it's so true, because if you keep things into yourself and think it's all on you, no, you've got people around you that also share accountability, and you have to hold them to account as well, because that's what, they're there in the business to do certain roles. So let them do those roles, give them that empowerment. So for me, that's kind of some challenges, and also how I'm trying to deal with them. But it's not easy.
No, it isn't easy, and I speak to this point a lot, both in my podcast and certainly with coaching one-on-one, that life is fluid. There's a lot of changes, and there are hard times. There are difficulties. You can be high flying in 1 minute, and for some reason you might be down on profits, down on revenue. You might have a health issue. All sorts of things can happen. You might have a relationship drama that goes on, and we can't ever take our humanity out. And why would we? Why would we want to be not human? Yeah, there are some people who are detached, and maybe that's their thing, and that's okay. But if that's not you, then to be like that is disingenuous, and it's not sustainable. It's just not a sustainable human psyche model, right? So we're talking about business models, but as an identity model, if you're trying to be the ruthless, cold leader, and yet you've got a massive warm heart and you worry about things, you will implode at some point. It will go wrong for you. So the more genuine you are and you're able to accept that, we call it integration in psychology. You're integrating parts of yourself. It's really not easy particularly for men. I know for women as well, yes, and I coach a lot of women too, but there's a bias towards men, particularly 40-year-olds plus, that we think there's often this sort of sneaky belief that we got to do it all, and it's up to us, and it's our fault, our mantle to wear. And where that's not actually true. Maybe a lot of it's up to us, but maybe someone needs, as you said, share with a buddy or share with your leadership team, and also call out their accountability. Because if you have a team, that's the point of team, right? It's that we're all part of this. So that's really, really interesting to hear. Now, one thing you mentioned there is about making time, and I want to call this out. I find time a fascinating subject. I'm about to do a bit of training on time management, energy management, because time management is important, but energy management is something people massively overlook. That's a topic for another podcast, by the way. But what I mean by this is you said something there about the time you'd lose if you went on a run, or whatever it is, about you. And it's a really interesting belief, isn't it, about where we lose time or make time. And I know what you mean. I think we all understand that principle. But I think it's more interesting about how you work with time. I think it's a different lens to bring through. So, for instance, like my experience is that I have an autoimmune condition and it can beat me up and cause me a whole host of problems. So I train almost every day. I do some form of exercise every day. Some days it's strong strength training. Some days it's a gentle run. Some days it's a swim. Some days it's just a long walk. But there's something that happens every day. And it normally happens first thing. Because I know if I've taken care of the movement side and my body side and the playful side, everything else is good after. If I roll out of bed and just jump straight on a coaching call of that, I'm not at my best for me and for the other people. So I put that in as non-negotiable. But we do live in a society which says, as a founder or business owner, like, you've got to be in, double down, do the hours. At what cost? And I had a client who was building his business, and I've been with him from the ground up. And he got to marathon running, and it's been really interesting. He's run marathons as he's grown his business, and he had to take a pause for he had an injury or something like that. He had to take a pause. He's noticed that his way of dealing with work and his business has not been as helpful as when he was running his marathons and doing his training. So, of course, my role as coach is like, okay, we need to get that straight back on, because look how well that supports you. You doing your running training is helping you processing your thinking, helping you be healthier and happier, and helping you be more productive at your work. So when we get it, I think that measure right, that perspective right, we don't ever lose time fitness training or running. We're just choosing to do things with our time which have different effects later in the day.
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of what, like that whole aspect of being non-negotiable. In my diary now, I'm starting to time block things. So I time block 12 to 2 every day, where I can't be invited to any calls. I have a lunch break, or a sandwich, for quick sandwich within that time. But it's also time to get a bit of work done, or maybe go for a walk or go for a jog. I've got non-negotiable time, and Wednesday mornings is blocked out. That is my non-negotiable time, where it's all about self-care. Like today I went for a haircut. I don't go to the gym, but it's still stuff for me to make me feel a bit better. And I'm focusing on myself, because if you don't do that, like you say, your mood and your mindset, you're not moving, you're not doing stuff that's going to make you feel good. And then as the week goes on, you're not focusing as positively about things. So whenever I do certain things for myself, it then releases this energy where I feel a lot more productive. And a lot of the problems I was thinking of earlier or yesterday, they're still there, but they're over there now. And I'm focusing on these really good things over here at the same time. So the whole balance, the whole perspective comes into play. I just think it's important, and we're trying to champion that a lot more as a leadership team, to show the rest of the team, look, if you're not feeling great, take time off, or go and do this, go for a walk, or go to the gym, or do whatever you want to do that makes you happy, because that's our job as people, and to focus on the team, but also ourselves, to make sure that we're happy, because when we're happy, we're going to be more productive, and our clients are going to be happier as well. So it has that kind of, we want to create the best environment possible for ourselves and for our team members. And then clients are going to benefit from that as well. And the business will benefit from that as well. So it's like doing the right things. And obviously the other stuff will hopefully trickle down after that. But I've always struggled with that, though, to be honest. Like, for years, I've not really put myself first, and I've just been working hard. I've been thinking I just have to do whatever I can to get the company to this level, to this level. Even when we're doing well, I was still like, right, we're doing well, but we can't stop there. We've got to go here. We've got to do this and this, start spinning all the plates. And I was burning out quite a bit, and I still do sometimes. I haven't got it nailed down, because I might take a few hours off in the day thinking I'm going to be more productive tomorrow. But then I still work the evenings now and again as well and do more hours. I can't escape that. But I do have non-negotiable aspects of my week now where I am doing fitness. So rather than working all day and then doing a few hours a night every day, which I've done a few months ago, it's not sustainable, and you're going to get caught out eventually. And I did that. I think it was like mid-February or something it was. I just had to take a day off. I was like, look, I'm done. I'm fried. I can't even think about stuff properly. And now I've got it more balanced again. I do, for the last year, I've been better at it, but I trained for a half marathon in February. And you said that story about your other friend or other client. it's so true. I felt so much better about things and so much more productive, and I was thinking a lot clearly about things because I was training for something and I was holding myself to account, and I was running as part of a relay. So I was held to account by my other runners, my other teammates. I think that's really important. When you're kind of doing something that's a team sport, you don't let other people down. When it's just you can decide not to go to the gym because it's just you. So yes, that shared accountability I think works. But yeah, that kind of time, you're not losing time really at all, are you? It's just you're going to be more productive for the rest of the week. So therefore, you're going to be maximizing time a lot better if you do those things.
Absolutely. And this is the description when I talk about energy management. So energy management essentially means how do we function best? So what are your curves? And by that I mean, so for example, if you wake up, what time do you wake up, Gav?
Well, at
Naturally.
the moment, to tell from my eyes, we're naturally about between 5:30 and 6.
Okay, so say 6 o'clock, right? We know that most humans are around 8 o'clock, so 2 hours after, will have a cortisol lift. The cortisol in your body, it's called the stress hormone, but it's a natural hormone. It depends if it's over amped because of circumstances, but it naturally lifts them. You're more likely to be more analytic, more sharp, more focused at that time. So what you do between 8 and probably 3 to 4 hours after 8 and 12, how you do and what you do at that time is more important about selection of tasks, selection of focus, as opposed to still working late. Now, it's all about knowing your chronotypes and these sorts of things, but non-negotiables of sleep, stress management, fitness, strength. For me, bearing in mind, I'm a little bit north of you, so I'm 50 plus now. And I saw at 46, I'm like, I know where the trajectory of my life's going. And it wasn't too bad, but if you don't do anything for another 8 years, you get to 54. And I haven't done any fitness training, strength training, the stuff that I do now a lot. Then what's the shape of my body? What's that autoimmune condition like? Etc., etc. And then repeat that for 30 years. So often this stuff is lots of things. One other thing I'm going to say about movement, and I'm a big push on this, and this might vibe with you. How much time do you spend in your head thinking?
Oh, wow. Loads.
Yeah, loads, right? Loads. And most of us do. It's a very human condition. For high-level founders and thinkers and creators, we spend vast amounts of time thinking and processing all this stuff. This is why I advocate getting into the body. So whether it's running, yoga, dancing, swimming, weight training, but anything, or cold water dipping, so anything gets you into the body, by default gives you a more of a balancing experience than only in the land of abstraction of thought. Because thought, you can drive yourself mad, literally, with it. Overthinking, thinking, binge thinking, I call it. People binge drink, but I say people binge think way more than that. So binge thinking could be problematic. So getting into the body, and you don't need to become a triathlete overnight. But if you go walking every day, or you get a running once a week, and you steadily build that up over the next 5-10 years, and you take the long-term view, the future of your health and the future of your business is going to look a very different outlook compared to if you're like, no, I don't have time now, I'm too busy. and you're basically in a stress response. And the problem in a stress response is if you stay there. It's not having a stress response to stressors, that's normal. It's do we let it go? And if you're constantly thinking and you don't have an outlet for stress, I mean, boxing is a great outlet. I do boxing now. I do heavier strength training. That's a stressor. And you expend that stress experience and biochemicals, then you can go relax afterwards. If you have none of that available to you and you're worrying about income and revenue and sales and that, your system will suffer with stress. My system, every one of our systems, though. So it becomes a really foundational piece, I find.
No, definitely. And I found that in the past 3 or 4 years, I mentioned earlier about having a few health problems. It's when things pile up for me. It's when I'm not going out and doing the exercise. That's when I'm not de-stressing. I'm not giving myself that time to just calm down a little bit and think things through, or even just to switch off for a bit and then come back to feeling a bit more fresh. And I know that, and even now when I go through moments where there's a lot of things piling up and it needs attention, I won't just stop everything to give it the attention. I'll make sure that I'm still giving myself that attention as well, because I think that's just important.
Yeah, so important. Perhaps we can gently bring this towards a conclusion, because your energy is so positive. We spoke about the reality of life, and yeah, you do challenges and really important pieces. But for For someone who's listening and thinking, right, okay, I've been on my mind for a while to do something, and this is me too. So I support ecology with tree planting, but it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel like I've got the whole thing together yet. So, I want more learning from you. Yeah. How might we go about, as a founder or business owner, to start to integrate a form of social impact or altruism, something that we value as the individual and the company, but that does reach out and make him? How can we start those steps and put them into our business DNA?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've not actually mentioned this to you actually, but we've actually got a CSR 7 ebook on our website, which is launching, I think, in a couple of weeks. And we've actually got 7 of our top tips on how to approach it. So that question you just asked, like, where do I start? What do I do? How can I engage my team, or how can I do more for my community? We've got some really top tips. And for me, some of the main ones would be engage your team. If you're a business with a team, ask them, like, who do they want to support? Have they got a charity close to their hearts? Can we get to know those charities? Ask them, ask them to meet them, ask them some questions, build that relationship with them, build that kind of rapport. Invite the charities along to your events that you do, or even to your office to tell the team about their challenges and how you can support them. So there's different things you can start building to be aware of what's out there. How can you support different people and different causes? Make it personal, make it close to your team's hearts. It's not just about me or about you as a business owner and what you want to support, because we did have a flagship charity for years and we just had them that we focused on, but now we spread it out. We spread out the love across the whole team now. Even things like building your community, like getting partners involved. It might be a print partner or a PR partner or a media partner. People want to help you do good things. So do it as a community, and you can give them brand awareness. You can promote their logos on social media and on posters. But yeah, I think there's just a few things there, I think, Sal, and there's some other ones there around giving charities a platform to have a voice. Invite them along and just get them to tell you and other people about what it is that they can do to support them. And we do that at every single event that we do. We invite a couple of charities along to it. So yeah, and the sponsorship is massive as well. So if you were to do an event, I'm talking about events here because that's kind of what we focus on, but anything is an opportunity. So like, if you do a golf day, you can have hole sponsors on every hole. You can have a headline sponsor. You can have a putter sponsor. You can do like a putting competition, and there's loads of things you can do to raise money. And that's what I love, and that's what really excites me. Like everything there's so many events that there's out there that you can do your own version of, or you create your own event that's going to be something completely new. People want to get involved, so you've got the opportunity there to do a really good thing, to engage your team, to boost your profits as well, because it does help with that. It gets everyone together. People know you, so you could help with growing the business. Helps with retaining and attracting staff, and attracting and retaining clients. And at the end of it, the impact that you're having is just huge. So another thing is do an impact report. We do one 6 months after every big campaign to actually highlight what all your efforts, where they actually gone towards. How much money have you raised? Where is it actually? What charities has it helped? What impact has it had? Getting testimonials from those charities, getting some videos and clips from them. I love that. And that for me is like, it just hits home once you kind of get an impact report built. You're like, wow, that's what we've done. And you share it with other people. You try and inspire other people to do the same thing. And for me, my mission is sharing these tips with people and saying, these are the kind of things you can do. Anyone can do it. We started this when it was just me, and I did it from day one. And if you've got a passion and you want to be an agency or a business that stands for good, you can do it. There's nothing that's stopping you. Set a target, go for it. Put in place a model that works for you. I'm always happy to talk to anyone that wants to try and set up anything in their business that follows some kind of social impact kind of method or kind of DNA. And I think the more people that, obviously I'm a big advocate, the more people that put this model in place, I think it works brilliantly, because otherwise you're just getting your head about the finances all the time. And it should be about, those 3 Ps, all of it connects cleverly together, and you can't do one without the other two. So you need to get that balance right.
Beautiful. Great tips. Of course, for our listeners, we will put Gavin's details in the show notes, because you might be like, what were they? Can I get some more? So I'm sure, Gavin, we're happy to answer your questions. And we shall... Oh, by the way, dear listener, if you're like me, I say this every time. I listen to loads of podcasts, and then what happens is I hear a piece of magic, like I've got to have that, or take that learning, don't just listen to some of this stuff, grab it, record it. There are apps now which I think can grab the highlights. There's probably highlights in the show notes, but yeah, capture these things that maybe I've spoken about, Gav's spoken about, the conversations triggered in you to think about how you can have more social impact, because you can do it your way, which sounds exactly what I heard from you, Gav. There's various ways, that many ways. It could be small, could be a really small start, it could be big, but if you find something close to your heart and involve your people that you're with, that sounds like the absolute bedrock to get going. So that's brilliant, wise advice. I'm going to be looking at that myself closely later. So, Gav, as always, it's great to see you, mate. Thank you for sharing some of your mindset, your experience, and how you run your business and how you make social impact. It's admirable, and I'm really privileged to have you on. So thank you, mate.
Oh, thanks, Sal.
Cool. Dear listener, take care. Look at your own social impact. What might you do that will bring a smile to your face and a warmth to your heart? Until the next time, take care. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe. And if a friend would benefit from hearing this, do send it on to them as well. If you would like to get in touch yourself, then you can go to my website, which is saljefferies.com, spelled SALJEFFERIES, saljefferies.com. Hit the Get in Touch link, and there you can send me a direct message. If you'd like to go one step further and learn whether coaching can help you overcome a challenge or a block in your life, then do reach out, and I offer a call where we can discuss how this may be able to help you. Until the next time, take care.